Disclaimer: I am a law student, and the legal information provided is not legal advice. For that, please hire an attorney. Hi! Let's not begin with a hypothetical. Sorry, I don't have one for today. We made it to the end of 2021. Hooray! Oh, let me begin recording. God, it's been such a fucking day. How's y'all's holidays been? Have they been good? How are y'all doing? Hold on, I know that there's some animated. I love the animated, the RGR get wrecked emote. That is absolutely wonderful. Yeah, how are you doing? Holidays are good. That's good. I'm glad. No hypothetical. I'm sorry. Well, so basically, like, I'm gonna be going over at the end of the stream sort of my plans going forward for 2021. We're gonna be changing things up, but we'll keep a lot of the things the same. Basically, we're just looking to improve on the entirety of, like, the structure that we have going forward, right? But I thought we would have a little bit of fun with this first, right? It's been for a lot of you. Some of you may have just gotten here. I see some people joining the chat right now. Welcome, by the way. It's great to have you in here. If you are not joined in the chat, this chat right here, see this wonderful chat? It's in my Discord. Join it. Discord.gg/RGR. Yeah, but for those of you who have either joined just now or thank you for the compliments. For those of you who have either just joined now or who have been here since the beginning, you all know that it's been a year, to say the least, right? Like, it has been a very, very, very long year. In a lot of ways that are not so great, but in a couple decent ways. And I figure, hey, you know what? The year's coming to a close. Let's take the moment to do some introspection and also have a little fun. And literally, as this is the reason I had to push back stream a couple minutes, I decided to put together a friendly, good old tier list. Everyone loves a tier list, right? You love a tier list. I love a tier list. Who doesn't love a good old tier list? On here, I've got every debate. I think I've got every debate. And almost every panel I've been on. I didn't include panels I've been on that either I didn't put on my channel or that I recorded on my channel, and I didn't think I actually, like, there weren't any meaningful arguments, right? So basically, this is, like, all of the debate, like every debate that I've had over the course of this year. Yay for tier list. Yeah, I know, right? No, tier list, Poggers, champions. I know, 2020 almost over. Yes, it is true. Maybe, hopefully, 2021 will be better. But, like, hey, we had some fun this year, and I'd like to be able to think about some of the fun that we've had. Because, like, I don't know. Yeah, it's been a lot. It's been shitty in a lot of ways, but I think that there's also a lot of benefits, like the community. You all have been, you have been a demonstrably, amazingly benefit to me and my life, right? And I am thankful that I am able to do this every time I do this. And I'm thankful that I get to be able to debate against chuds, because that's fun. And sometimes not chuds, and that can be more fun. But hey, let's not stand on ceremony. God, where the fuck do we begin? All right, so first, I think that we have to kind of set the standard. So let me ask y'all, do we start as early as possible and we work our way forwards, or do we start, like, at the most recent and work our way back? Right now, I'm feeling like, here's people talking about 2021 Omega. Yeah, I know, right? I'm excited to see us all remembering which debates gave us the powerful emotes. Okay, I say old. Yeah, all right. We'll start as early as possible. Actually, it's interesting because the first debate that we had is arguably one of the most impactful. So that was the Mars debate. Does anyone remember Mars? Fucking Mars. I wonder how he's doing nowadays. Yeah, all that. So that was debate with Transbra. If I remember correctly, it was my first debate, and it was about Ariel Scarcella. that was around the time when she had just recently begun her leaving the left grift. Um, I really, like, I think I have to place it higher, right? For me, it's going to be the difference between whether or not it's going to be an A or an S tier debate. Because right now, it is, like, it's my oldest debate. It's still my highest performing. I think it's almost at 20,000 views, which for my channel is pretty large, right? Um, Here's the thing I'm going to say about it, right? So I don't have like an exact list of like matrices that I use to evaluate everyone, right? But generally speaking, and this is going to be something I'm going to be much more. Yeah, turf is a slur. Yeah. That's where we got turfisaslur.com. That line, right? Y'all remember that one? I think Anarcho Wiener made the meme video about it. We have a command for it, I'm pretty sure, in chat. Yeah, that's where that comes from. But yeah, so what I'm thinking is basically I'm going to evaluate this in the same way that I evaluate all rhetoric, or all rhetoricians, which is to basically say that I look for two qualities primarily in like a really good rhetorician. Sorry, I just had dinner. The first, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Oh, the command is literally turfisaslur.com. Amazing. So the first criteria I usually look for in someone is credibility, right? How credible is someone and how credible do I look versus the other person, right? And then the second quality that I'll usually look at is likability. How much despite how credible that person may seem, how likable do they seem to me? Okay? So we're going to be looking at those two criteria because those are the two that I consider to be the most relevant. And I'm going to be harping on myself a lot more. There are some of these debates where I feel like I do some better than others. There's some where I feel like I do both exceptionally. But I think that this is good for self-critique because I do think that those are like the strongest qualities. Like that's what I teach my kids to do in mock trial, right? Like I teach my students to do that in mock trial, to always keep those two things in mind, and they go on and they win tournaments, right? So yeah, those debates are hardcore. So with Mars, I'm gonna have to say A tier, not S tier. And here's the reason why. Even to this day, and mind you, I do still get comments. Like I still get a lot of comments saying, "Oh, Riley." Actually, hold on. I have to do the close up. "Oh, Riley, you are so mean to Mars. I think that you were just totally fucking unreasonable. I don't think that you. I just think that you treated him uncharitably. I think you did too much research, and you didn't give him any good opportunity to be able to speak for himself." All of which are either stupid arguments or are concern trolling. But I think that there is a kernel of truth to the idea that, like, I think that my better debates have been the ones where any reasonable person from any background will be able to watch it. And unless they are so biased against me, that there's literally nothing in the world I could say that would otherwise convince them that, you know, I probably could have rhetorically performed better in that regard. Now, with Mars, I prepared basically in the way that I would prepare to cross-examine someone, right? Where I had a lot of prepared material. I was ready at the site to literally everything that I went over, and I buried him into the dirt, right? Like I crushed him, right? Yeah, imagine doing too much research. Yeah, I know, right? No, but that's literally the comments that I get is like, "Oh, Riley, you seemed way too prepared," and Mars didn't seem prepared at all, even though I was literally like, even though the debate literally started as a criticism of a video that he made to begin with, and somehow I did too much research, right? Yeah, please don't prepare for debate. Oh well. Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, no, like I utterly crushed Mars. So like likability versus credibility. Credibility, oh yeah, through the roof, right? Like 5, like if we're going like 0 to 5, like in mock trial, I usually grade people like out of 10. So like if I were to give myself like, and usually, so like the way that I'll break it down is I'll rate like 1 to 5 likability, 1 to 5 credibility. I would give myself like a 5 on credibility here because it's like I knew my shit. I could cite to literally everything. I nailed it on the dot. Perfect, on point. Likability, probably like a 3 or a 4. Maybe even less than that. It really depends on who's watching, right? Because again, like the context of this conversation means that like I'm talking about someone who is broadly disliked by everyone. You can be likable and come across and really hammer into someone if they are like trying to defend such an unlikable person or idea that the audience would reasonably expect you to. So I don't want it to come across that like, oh, just because I was mean, that means I was unlikable, because that's what the audience may expect from me, right? But if I'm considering, like, if I want to put that video in front of literally anyone in the world and expect them to like me just as much, that probably won't be the case. The people who are going to like me the most are probably going to be like online people on the left who are already kind of clued into these conversations, as opposed to like the average person in the world. For that reason, I would probably give myself about an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I would put it in the A tier. There we go. Still great debate. One of my favorites. Yeah, cool. All right, next after that, so now we get into like less memorable ones, because like that was like the most memorable. That was like the Kickstarter. Then I had like a couple other like lower tier debates. I had Zoomer Nation. I'll be honest, people, I barely remember. Like I'm not saying anything against Zoomer Nation. I don't think I follow. I can't remember. Did they go by they, them, or she, her pronouns? It's one of the either. Either way. So the debate was Zoomer Nation. It was more of like, I mean, like, you know, it was more of me just trying to learn about like various left ideologies. Like it was like kind of like me, like it was during my phase where I was like on the learning curve trying to figure out a lot of stuff about the online left. Let me see. She won the debate. I cannot remember when Zoomer. I mean, I know that Zoomer Nation debated Xander Hall, but I can't remember when. Anarchist Kid, yeah, I think so. Or at least that's my understanding. Again, they're like a generally small YouTuber. Like they haven't grown much since we have last discussed, but you know, it's debate all the same, right? So what I'm thinking is like basically, so likability, like I basically went in, like I was likable, sure, probably like a 4, but like credibility, like I barely knew anything. Sure, I came across good faith, so like people would trust me, but I'd give myself like a 2 or a 3. So I'd probably give myself like a 5 overall. Is that, I'm going to say, do I want to say that's like my worst debate ever? It's certainly one of my least memorable. Looking at all this, I think I have to say D tier. Maybe there's also just like an element of like not very watchable. Like not a lot of people would want to watch that because it's not like I'm going in and I'm so much like challenging the position so much as I'm like learning. So if you're looking for like an instance of me really like flexing intellectually, that's just really not it. And there's a reason why it's not like watched that much anymore. Okay, after that, let's see. Then we had, oh shit. This is interesting. Very shortly after the debate with Mars. So a little bit of small trans YouTuber history. Basically, soon after I had this debate and it started getting more viral, and I mean, like, it's still talked about, so that's cool. But like very soon after this one, other people started commenting, and someone who is now larger than me made a video about it. Mo, who at the time I can't remember if their channel was Mo, but nowadays they go by, you know, their channel goes by Cops Hate Mo, right? Oh, she, her just checked. All right, cool, thanks. Riley should talk to Anarcho Pack. She's very well-read academic anarchist historian. That could be cool sometimes. Depends on like what I'm going to be researching in the future, but thank you for the recommendation. But yeah, so basically, now I actually think, I think I have, this is, now you all might disagree with me on this or not, but like, I think that this was I actually think that this debate with Cops Hate Mo, and I'm going to explain this in a second, I think that this was better. I'm going to put it in S tier. I think that was one of my best debates, hands down. Or actually, God, I don't know. I have to think about that. All right, let me reason this out for a second because I do really like this debate. I do really, really like this debate. The reason why is because basically Mo at this point in time was arguing as someone who was still trying to like bridge the gap between trans med and non-trans med YouTubers, right? Or communities. Like Mo was largely undecided and it was hard to tell. Like basically in this discussion, I felt like I was under the impression that if Mo was not careful, like that if Mo was not careful, that they would end up becoming effectively the token non-binary person for the right, you know? Because it seemed like Mo didn't that was a really productive debate. Yeah, I think so too. And so the reason why I like this debate more than this one is because I feel like this one meaningfully accomplished like a real like a meaningful goal, which was winning someone over, and that's like one of the most important things I always evaluate. I guess that's usually so. Like if I give a 5 on likability, that's when I would give a 5 on likability. Is like if I'm able to sell my idea and I'm actually able to convince the other person. That's an S tier debate right there. So I think, yeah, I think I have to put it. I think I have to put it S tier. Basically, if I'm able to make my points, I'm able to actually convince someone, the other person I'm arguing against. I'm probably going to give it an S tier debate. That's what I would consider to be like an actually good debate because I'm able to usually convince my audience. Like most of the time, y'all will probably like y'all, and also there's like the fact that y'all probably trust me. Y'all do research with me. Y'all know what I'm doing. So like y'all are probably going to be on board with me most of the time anyway, right? But like when I'm talking to someone who disagrees with me or who doesn't really understand, and I'm able to like, you know, lay out my points and convince them, and I know I'm able to convince them, that's a good debate, right? Um, yeah, Riley. Yeah. All right, whatever. It was yeah. So no, I'm gonna put it as an S tier. All right, let's see. What was after that? Then we had the electoralism one. Um, I don't know. I just don't have as much of like a great vibe towards this one. I don't think that I did poorly, but I didn't think it was like anything amazing. Basically, someone like so, and this is the reason why. So before I put that up there, I'm gonna explain why I don't feel great about this one. Is basically it just is like it's kind of just I don't know like it's basically a discussion of like different ways to be able to affect political change, right? I defended reformism and I was arguing against someone who was like a revolutionary. To me, this is not like a very productive conversation. Y'all can watch it. Like it was a I mean like it was good in a sense, right? It was very like exploratory. But like I don't think that there was like I think that broadly speaking, you know, like for me personally, I am, again, like I've said it before, I am always most married or not married. Like I'm not married to any like particular political ideology or strategy or whatever. I'm married to whatever works the best, right? And right now, like especially with my positioning, like I'm literally going to be working for legislators this spring. Like I'm in a pretty good position. Like I am of the impression that there is meaningful change that can be accomplished through the legislative process, right? So that means I'm going to naturally not take as revolutionary or radically different, you know, radical of a position politically, right? That's not because I have anything inherently against those alternative positions, and I don't. I'm not advocating for people to not like explore those ideas because I could be wrong. But that's essentially, you know, why I do the things that I do and why I tend to focus on social issues because that's something that broadly most people can agree on, right? For that reason, I mean, I don't think that I did poorly necessarily. It's just something that like, I think I'm just gonna put it like C tier. Like it's an okay debate. Um, I'm not married either. Only cost 7K, but I got my divorce. God damn it. But yeah, so like it's I don't know. It's just not like my most memorable one, right? Like I have to like try really hard to remember it. You know, is the infamous raised surfaces debate? Yes, it is actually. With that being said, let's talk about Janae Rose. Is I believe. All right, hold on. We got yeah. Next. Oh wait, no, never mind. I can't actually remind me. Is it Janae Rose or was it Marcy who came first? Remind me. It was either like next up is Janae or Marcy. It was one of those two. STRA surfaces. Listen. I think like we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But remind me, which was first? Was it Marcy or was it Hey Riley, now catching my first of your streams. Hey, well welcome. Glad to have you in the stream. I enjoy talking to people. I can't God damn it. All right. Well, in that case, I'm probably going to start with Marcy first. Was Marcy the one with Zan? I can't remember. So all right. So basically, I'll start with Marcy because it's most relevant to like the things we've discussed already. So Marcy was someone who reached out to me via email. She also has like a super duper small YouTube channel. So like she reached out to me under the pretense that she was like an influencer or whatever. And she also reached out to me under the pretense that she was acting in good faith. This was also when the J.K. Rowling and the Ariel Scarcella, like all of that was unfolding, earlier in the summer / fall, right? Yeah, and there's a link. Go check out Cops Hate Mo. But yeah, so basically when all that was unfolding, and I was talking obviously negatively about Ariel and J.K. Rowling, Marcy reached out to me under the pretense of good faith and was like, I have to do the bit. Hi Riley, I just wanted to reach out because I feel like often like I agree with Ariel and I agree with J.K. Rowling and most of the things that they say. And I think that you just treat them a little harshly. And I would just like to come on and debate you in good faith and, just try to resolve our differences. And I think that we could be able to meaningfully bridge the gap. Like basically the same thing as like the Manamalian Grift. Yeah. So as it turns out, so effectively, like I brought Marcy on. I think that I went through basically every point. Like I don't need to think. I know. Like I went through like every point like perfectly, right? Every single like it's all the same generic turf argue. Like basically like it was a generic turf debate, right? And the thing that sucked about it too, like the thing that really, really sucked about it was I genuinely bought into the idea that she could have been acting in good faith. Like I believed her, like I bought it. Except as it turns out. So basically, after I had gone through every single one of her points, after I had like disproven every single one of them, like all of them without question, we got to the end of it and she was like, oh, Riley, well, thank you so much. I feel like this has been a really productive conversation. I don't think that I really changed any of my views, but I thought that this was just super productive. And, I just really appreciate our ability to be able to talk to one another. And I'm just super glad. I don't think anything differently after this conversation, but I'm glad we were able to have it. Something to that effect. I'm being very Valley Girly because as it turns out, there was nothing I could say to her that would actually change her mind. Soon after the video went up, she started like literally like responding. Like she was just like stalking my comment section for the longest time, responding to anything that was like even remotely critical of her, like as defensively as possible, to the point of where I just had to like ban her from my YouTube comments. So it really sucked because like I did feel like there was a chance I could have reached her, like I even felt kind of bad after the end of it, but as it turns out, I didn't. So I'm probably going to put that, I would put it in S tier if I was able to actually convince her. I'm going to put it in A tier. I thought it was still good. I thought it was still really good. I think it is worth, well, actually, I don't know. It was good. All right, I think I also have to. So like, I have my same two. I think I'm gonna put a B tier because I think that like also, there's like this consideration of Actually, no, hold on. I think I have to go back and I have to change up some of my considerations because not only. All right, so actually, I'm changing my mind. I'm moving Mo down to S tier, and I'm keeping Marcy a B tier. I'm adding a new consideration, right? Because before I was thinking in terms of strictly like, all right, well, how likable and credible was I during that? I think I also have to have a consideration if I want to be honest to y'all of like entertainment value, right? This one was probably not as entertaining, and Mo wasn't as entertaining, though I feel like they're still good, but I feel like this one is higher by virtue of how entertaining it was, and these two are probably a little bit lower. I may change my mind on that a little bit. So maybe we have like a 1 out of 50. Maybe we have like a 0 to 15 scale where it's like you can have a maximum of like 5 points for likability, 5 points of credibility, and 5 points of entertainment value, right? I feel like these two are honestly like on par. But I feel like people don't like this because it's just not as widely watched. All right, but entertainment value. Now we come to raised surfaces. Oof, I think this is all right. This is either gonna be so basically, all right, before I put it up here. History time. Let me get some RGR. Actually, wait, hold on. Can I get some we have a raised surfaces. Can I get some raised surfaces in chat if people remember the debate with Janae Rose? Can I get some good old raised surfaces? Because table, a raised surface. Yes, you're not wrong. But no, I mean like the emote calling RGR historians. We have a raised surface. Oh, we don't have a raised surface command. Damn. Yeah, so basically, all right, let's go over some history. Once upon a time, there was a YouTuber called Janae Rose, who I believe is still around. Actually, can someone just check, like, how big is she nowadays? I don't know. I don't keep up with her. So basically, there was a point also basically going back to, so like she was someone who like was like who Mars had made very like several videos of making fun of. Oh wow, that's a lot of raised surfaces. Okay, wow, that's yep. All right, never mind. You're all good. You're all good. So basically, like, she is a much smaller trans YouTuber who had a decent relationship with me, like as YouTubers, for a little bit. You know, like we would message, we would DM. I think I had Janae on one point to talk about like to have like a decent discussion about how it's hard to have people who come from positions of poverty in prominent positions in BreadTube, which is a real issue, right? Like there's very little representation of people who come from positions of poverty because it's very hard to be able to perform well, which sucks because that's kind of a blind spot that we miss. But anyway, so we had known each other for a while, and it became very clear very quickly that Janae just wanted to use me as a way to be able to grow herself. And it also became apparent because basically the way that it had that the drama came into be was that Janae asked to come onto my stream again, didn't specify why, just said that she would like to have a chat or whatever. I said, all right, eventually sometime we'll make it happen. It wasn't pressing to me. And eventually Janae made a call out video where she said that because I was not letting her on. Oh wait, before the call out video happened, basically like I was like, so she was trying to get me to let her onto my stream. I said something to the effect of, and I can't remember the exact quote, but I was like, no, but later. And she said, and then she tried to use peer pressure, right? Like she tried to guilt me into letting her onto my stream. Like she wanted me, like she was trying to guilt me into feeling bad that I had this platform that she felt entitled to. To which I immediately said, shut the fuck up. You're not entitled to my platform, and I'm not going to bring you on if you're just going to try and manipulate me. She made a call out video about me, which was laughably terrible, and I went over that, and as I was going over it and like deconstructing it piece by piece, she popped in the chat, she came onto the stream, we debated, fun time, raised surfaces meme. So yeah, that was a really, honestly, I'm probably going to have to put it, it's hard to tell. I think I have to put it in A tier. I don't think I can put it S tier. For the same reason I can't put, well, I mean, like, it's not for the same, like, I don't give a fuck. Like, there was no way I was going to ever be able to convince her, right? So, like, that's a part of it. But, like, also the fact that, I want, like, I already basically have an idea of, like, what my S tier, like, what my absolute best looks like. And I don't think Janae was my absolute best. I think it was good. Oh yeah, there was also like a point where her boyfriend came in and tried to debate too, and made it into a 2-on-1. And I was like, all right, whatever. We cut some of it out because it was like a lot of repetitive shit. But yeah, so like eventually like her boyfriend came in too, and that was And it became into RGR versus Janae and I guess her boyfriend too. Oh yeah, hey, there's the meme. Go check it out. Platform, noun, raised surface. Yeah, so I'm going to give it an A tier. Not necessarily, like, mostly because so if we're going to rank it like 5, 5, 5, I would probably give it like a 5 out of like a 5 out of 5 on entertainment value because that shit was entertaining. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 on credibility. I'm going to give it like a 3 out of 5 on likability, right? Because like most of you are going to watch that and like me. Not everyone is going to watch that and like me. So it's going to be like a 13 out of 15. Good, not perfect. All right, cool. All right, where do we go from there? Next is, I believe next was my first Dylan Burns panel. Let's see, I have multiple Dylan, yeah, I have 3 Dylan Burns panels on here. These 3, I can't remember which they came in exactly. There was let me think. This was my first Dylan Burns panel. So let's start here. Let's start with the, or actually no, we'll save the Dylan Burns panel for a second. Because we can just do them all together. We'll do all the Dylan Burns panels together. Next come my personal favorite, Buck Angel, Calvin Gara, S tier, automatic S tier. I think this is one of my best. I think if you were to ask me what my absolute best is, this is it, right? Because like full context, right? This is me. So to give you all like context, right? So this was shortly after Calvin and I had started talking, on YouTube, on social media. He had found out about me, I believe, through the debate that I had with Mars, right? Seems to be, looking back historically, where a lot of this comes from, right? And actually Calvin really liked me and we still talk today. And hopefully, like, a lot of people are very critical of him, and I don't think that that's unfair to do. I think that he's still growing a lot as a person, but that's a whole nother subject. But for the relevance of this discussion, yeah, Calvin reached out to me, and that was the point where a lot of other people started reaching out to me. I think around this time, like, also I had Miss London on my stream, which was a very popular video. Like, a lot of larger trans YouTubers started following me and noticing me. I started to gain a reputation as like the trans YouTuber who also has like a really good background in being able to do research and has like a lot of empiric, arguments to be able to support different positions. That was starting to become my, like my aesthetic, and that continues to be sort of my aesthetic today. Like nowadays, like I even help much larger YouTubers who I will not talk about right now, but maybe I'll talk more about in the future. Hold on to that thought. I help much larger YouTubers nowadays do research as well, So that was the context, right? That was basically starting around this time. And Calvin told me that there was a possibility that he could get me onto stream with Buck Angel. Buck Angel, the same Buck Angel that recently, basically had notoriety, or was like is notoriety the right word? Was notorious for getting Natalie ContraPoints effectively canceled. Actually, not effectively, like just canceled, right? Natalie had Buck Angel do a voice in one of her videos, or do a line in one of her videos, without actually talking about any of his personal political views, because she respected him as like a past, trans advocate and someone who has done a lot for the community. Again, whether or not you agree with that kind of sentiment, that's not relevant to this discussion so much. The point being was that like Calvin, at this point, someone who liked me a lot, was able to get me onto the same call as Buck Angel, and was able to get me in a position to be able to confront a lot of Buck Angel's really bad views. And I did it fucking perfectly. If you ask me, like, if I literally thought after that if there was anything that I could have done better, and I don't think so. I think I was able to respond to every single argument with a good empiric response. I think I was able to support everything that I said. And also, I was not inflammatory, right? Like, I towed a very good line of being firm and also maintaining. Like, you go back and watch that. Like, at the end of the conversation, we were all laughing and talking about going to watch the presidential debate, right? Like, that, and especially the fact, like, just consider that I debated Buck Angel and I didn't get canceled for it. I was able to toe the line where he liked me at the end of it. And we still message to this day. Not as often, but we still do. Where he was able to like me afterwards and I was able to not get canceled by my audience. That's a perfect debate. That's my favorite one. Period. Full story. Thank you. And I appreciate the compliments. I'm seeing it in chat. Yeah, Calvin was like the friend who invites you to a party where you get into the fight with the party host. Well, I mean, like, in a way, but I mean, like, even then, like, we still, like, Buck and I were on good terms by the end of it, right? So I would say that is, like, one of, if not my best debates. It sucked that it didn't perform. Like, I expected it to perform super well. Maybe because Calvin also hosted it on his channel. I don't know. Oh, and also the fact that this was like one of the first times that Buck Angel had debated anyone, because usually he stands like pretty far back, right? Yeah, so I just watched the whole Ray Service vid. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so that's what I would say is my best debate. And this is gonna be hard. I also think that Destiny was S tier. People might disagree with me on this, and I'm going to explain why. I think that this was like the strongest debate I ever had, where I was like very like logically driven and responsive, right? There are some conversations where literally when I'm debating with someone, and mind you, like, all right, so background, right? Context. The context is Kyle Rittenhouse, Kenosha, that all happened, Destiny, inflammatory comments, everyone very mad, emotions high. You all know this, right? I feel like someone laying out their Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Listen. Anyway, so when I was so basically as this was all going over, and I'm someone who generally like respects Destiny, right? And I will get flack for that. And I understand that I will. I think that a big reason why it's not even I think, like, a big reason why I respect him is because, like, he does really critically think about his views in a way that I don't see a lot of people do on the left, right? I see Vosh think in a very similar way. I see that in some way imparted to Zan. And otherwise, I don't see it too often. I see it a little bit in Natalie, like they're a little bit similar. But like he has a way of thinking that did force me to be much more responsive and much more critically analytic in the course of the conversation. I wasn't able to convince him by the end, but I literally got him to the point of, well, I guess we're just going to have to disagree, which to me is a pretty good shake for a debate, you know? Like with the debate with Destiny, if he doesn't get to the, like if I'm able to get to the end and he's just going, and he just acknowledges that we have a reasonable disagreement, I consider that a very good performance, right? I think Demon Mama did a good job against Destiny. I think that, my God, was it better than Vosh's try? From what I understand, it probably was. But it was also right up your educational alley. Yes, no, that was also helpful, right? Like I was able to talk about like a little bit. I mean, like it was related to law, but not so focused on it. I haven't watched Demon Mama's video on Destiny, so all right, maybe. Like I know that a lot of people. So like if you're a fan of Demon Mama's and you watched that and you watched her debate with Destiny, I didn't watch all of it, but I understand that she, like the hearsay that I have heard goes that her debate with Destiny went over well because Destiny basically justified bullying a lot of people on Twitter, which is a bad thing. Don't bully people on Twitter. So that, like, I acknowledge all of that. That's a real concern. Don't be a bully. I'm not saying that Destiny is like no negative qualities, and I'm not going to defend the bad things that he does. I think that there are a lot of people on here who have a lot of negative qualities, and I respect him a lot as someone who, you know, like to debate against, right? And I think that I could not have, like, I don't think that there was anything that I could have done better in that debate. Like, I do not think that there was a single thing I could have done better, period. And for that, I give it S tier, right? I think it was one of my best. If you want to see me at my best, I think that's one of my best. All right. Let's see. Dylan Burns arc. All right, so there's 3. I have to remember them like specifically. Let's see. All right, this is good. I have an interview scheduled at 6:30, so this is a good. We're working good with time. Did Riley comment on the DSA drama? Nope, and I do not want to. I like pretty much every time CTV appears in debate, he literally just doesn't care what's coming out of his mouth. I mean, like, all right, listen, y'all like CTV. Like I see a lot of people in my chat say that like, oh, CTV is fun or adorable, whatever. I mean, like, he's an idiot. And I guess as long as you recognize that he's an idiot, then fine. Just don't let it like, I don't know. I feel like there are some people who are able to market themselves as basically like a lovable idiot and be able to cheat their way out of like having responsibility for their views. Yeah, just remember that. CTV makes me want to reconsider suicide. Maybe not Destiny, but his followers are toxic. From what I mean, like after the debate that I had with Destiny initially, there were a lot of toxic people who like treated me negatively. I also know that there were people in that community who said, hey, this isn't all of us. There was a large influx of more conservative, toxic people as a result of defending Kyle Rittenhouse, so that may have explained it. So I don't want to like paint with too broad a stroke, but there's probably like truth at least to some degree there. Let's see. One, Destiny has a fuck ton of principles. Two, Destiny's main priority is his own beliefs. In his own beliefs is consistency. Sometimes these two things intersect in an ugly way, and he's unable to back down. Yeah, basically. I mean, that's like because he's like a rule utilitarian, right? And like often you get into like, and then to some extent I am too. Or I don't know, like I talk with Avi a lot about like philosophy and DMs, and he described like another alternative to like rule utilitarianism, which I heavily consider. But anyway, so the Dylan Burns debates, back on track. The first one, let me think. What was the first one about? It was about, fuck me, I have to look it up. 1 second. Let's see, video. Let's see. I'm sorry. I literally, you can tell that this is all right. So it's probably gonna get like a B tier at best, just because I cannot remember it for the life of me. Dunking on Proud. Oh wait. Oh shit. This was actually. I don't know. This might have to be higher. So this was dunking on Trump and Proud Boy supporters for 3 straight hours. It was pretty good. It was pretty like, so like that was a pretty, because literally it was just like consistent dunking. Like it was just like dunk after dunk after dunk. Let me see how it performed. Just to bring it over here, analytics, 8,000. That's like decent. For that. All right. So like it did well. Let me disclaimer. Severity of the pandemic.
Guidelines.
By the end. Let me see. Oh god, there was Redneck, fucking last username. Oh, Jury. Oh my god, yeah, Jury tried to pull like the enlightened centrism shit. CTV, Puller did very well. Puller did very, very well. Disclaimer, yeah. Let me think. I do really like this one, because it was literally just, let's see, was there anyone else who joined? I did really well here. The thing is, I would rank it higher, but I genuinely, like, it's just a blur to me. Like, I do believe that I did well. Like, I genuinely believe that I did well. So like, I don't know, I probably got, like, a 5 on credibility. I probably got, like, a 4, like, a 3 or a 4 on likability. As far as entertainment, though, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure how high I rate panels as far as entertainment, because to me, like, the rewatch value of this is just, like, so low. I mean, like, it's better than probably some others, right? But I mean, like, I don't know. It literally was, I'm trying to think, God. All right, so that one, 69 viewers on Twitch. Nice, great. Love Puller. Yeah, no, Redneck is a massive bigot and a moron. Yeah, basically. My favorite panel was when you played ESO through it. Yeah, but I didn't record that one. That one was a Bird Brains one, because like, yeah, like that's the reason I don't love debates which aren't like combative. I mean, I guess I like them if I'm able to like do something. It's just I feel like I'm bored because I'm not usually disagreeing with what people say, right? Like, I like being able to have a disagreement because then I actually have something to contribute to the conversation. Like, I believe it or not, like, you know, most of the time, I'm about to say this and you're not going to believe me. Most of the time I tend to be a more like quiet person. Just because like I really only talk, and not crazy, right? But only because I talk when I feel like I have something to contribute to the conversation. Now, fortunately, with me streaming, I have a ton to contribute to the conversation, especially when I am arguing against various positions, right? This Bernie Sanders guy seems to really care about, yeah, whatever. But like I feel like I'm able. So like usually when I'm talking is when I'm able to contribute something or when I feel like there's like a meaningful point of contention that I have to address, right? But like when I'm just on a panel with a bunch of people who are saying the same shit, then like no, I probably agree. 2019 Destiny yelling at chat while playing Factoria. 2020 Riley yelling at CTV while playing ESO. 2021 to be continued. We'll see, chat. I don't know. I think I'm going to have to put it. God, what am I going to put it? All right, let me think about it this way. I would put this. So I would put this debate probably above both of them. So like the third Dylan Burns panel, that was the one about Trump v. Biden. That was also the one that Destiny was on. And then this one actually. So for people who don't remember. Basically Destiny went on there and it was a tough panel. Like that was actually like a pretty substantively tough panel. And the reason why was because a lot of the opposition, while I don't know, like this is something that is very common, like with what conservatives will do. Instead of conservatives actually making affirmative arguments on their own, what they will usually do is try to either like present like crazy conspiracy theories or just poke holes in the opposing arguments, right? They don't have to argue for an alternative to healthcare. In fact, most conservatives don't. They just argue against it, which means that the burden is always on the people who are making the argument for it, namely people on the left. Same thing with climate change. Same thing with anything that has to do with like racism or like civil rights, They don't have really any burden, so they just try to poke holes in things, right? So it's often very hard because when you have a lot of people who are good at poking holes and looking reasonable, and then also they're able to throw in a conspiracy theory or two to make themselves look like they're presenting some kind of argument, then they're able to look a lot more credible. And that's sort of what happened there, where Destiny did Destiny's thing, where he went on and called a bunch of people, like, I think that he called them like the R word or like the R slur, like at least a couple times. He was very inflammatory. And the thing was, it didn't come off great. Sometimes it does because, his audience basically wants, they like the idea of, but one moment. I'm sorry. This is a very important call. I apologize. I hate getting calls during stream, but that was a call from. I have a consultation with my surgeon for bottom surgery in a week, and I've been dealing with a lot of stress with that, in addition to every other thing that's happening in my life. I've been busy, fam, and today has been apparently a day to deal with that. But anyway, where was I? Remind me. So Congrats. Yeah, thank you. It's been wonderful. I was just told about how I need to be COVID tested because in case, because there weren't enough hoops for me to jump through already. That's another hoop that I also have to jump through. Again. Debate my surgeon. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, so anyway. God, now I have to fucking plan for that. Fuck me. Anyway, so with that debate, Destiny was incredibly inflammatory. And it didn't come across great, you know? And the reason why was because the people who are more conservative, especially there was like one, I can't remember his name. He's like a conservative debater, panelist, whatever. Riley, you're 12. You're not 12 anymore. It's not bottom surgery. It's God damn it. Yeah. Anyway. So that debate. So like this panel was really good because basically I had to come in and do a little bit of damage control. Insofar as basically, whereas Destiny was a much more inflammatory person. I came in and alternatively, oh, hey, thank you for boosting the server. That's really fucking cool. And I really appreciate it. So basically, like, whereas Destiny came in was super inflammatory, I was much more reasoned. I laid back a little bit. I realized, we don't need multiple people to look inflammatory because that would come off as like too overbearing, right? Or too unreasonable. And so I thought that it played off very well. And I was able to basically, like, Redneck was pushing like the Biden crime family conspiracy theory, and I deconstructed it on stream very reasonably in a way where I basically walked him down the aisle. I almost want to put it, I think that, but for the fact, because like I did have a little bit of nervousness in me. Like there was a bit of, like, I had some nerves in me. If you watch like the beginning of like my video, I was like a little shaky when I was introducing it. So I'm not going to say that like it's an S tier, but I do, it's either, this is either going to be like A or B. I think I'm going to put it A. Because like it was like I got a lot of messages after that saying that like it was like a really good performance. And also the day after, Destiny just messaged me and was like, hey, you want to come on stream? And I was like, fucking sure. And we just chatted on his stream for like 3 hours about just like a bunch of political shit. It started with the panel, but it was just like a very friendly conversation. And then Destiny rated me after that. And since then, we have been on good terms, So I felt like that was really good, got a lot of good out of it. And probably one of my favorite panels. So that makes it a little bit easier because now I have a better frame of reference. Let me check. 607. Okay, awesome. That makes it a little bit better because, the other panels I didn't like as much. Not because I don't think that I performed well in them. So I would probably give them, I think I'm going to give them both like B tier. I think that they're both good. Like if you want to watch them, they're okay. That's when I streamed yeah, that's right. That's when I streamed that's when you streamed Rocket League to 2,000 people. Yeah, when Destiny raided me, it was like a couple days after. I was playing ESO, and for just a moment, I was the largest ESO streamer on the entirety of Twitch, which is why I say I am the best ESO streamer. Because I can stand by that claim, because at one point I was the largest streamer playing ESO on Twitch, which is a true statement, and I can back it up. I like Destiny when he's not defending Kyle Rittenhouse. Yeah, basically. So yeah, both of these, I feel like they're very similar. I don't know. They just have like a very similar vibe in my head. Like they're all right. I did well in them. But like I feel like this one was markedly better, and I wouldn't give this one S tier, so I'm going to put them both in B tier. All right, that's basically how I'm going to do those. Wait, is that the panel when he had the woman who said insurance companies shouldn't be required to cover anything? Yeah, that was the that was this one where you had like basically it was supposed to be a conversation about whether or not like trans. So basically, like one of the prompts was supposed to be, should trans healthcare should trans medical care be covered by healthcare? And what it turned into was a combination of, are trans people valid and also socialized medicine. I didn't think it was the best panel organized on Dylan's part because he let it kind of devolve into what was very different from the original prompt. But it's fine. I did well enough in it. It's not great. It's not terrible. Like it was decent. So yeah, B tier for both of them. They're like, these are like all right. All right. Now we come into another really hot take. Y'all want one of my hottest takes? Holy shit, Liz. Thank you for boosting the server. How many boosts do we have at this point? We have 37 boosts. Holy shit. Based lists. Absolutely. Thank you so much. That is super awesome and I really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much. All right. Now we're down to the final two debates. Technically there's a third one. There's like there was like one third debate that happened recently. I'm not even going to make it into a video. So basically, like, to summarize for y'all, there was someone on Twitter who was like, "Hey Riley, you don't use good sources in your research doc." And I was like, "Yes, I do, and you're an idiot." And I brought them on the stream, and I just and they were just kind of an idiot for like 30 minutes. It's also one of the main reasons, and we'll get into this later, why I'm changing up my content. But just to abridge, it's not on this list because I didn't even really consider it worthy of putting on here. Is that the one that completely flipped and was bad at tech? Yeah, I think. Or no. That was Manamalian. Wait, Manamalian is on here. But we'll get to him in a second. All right. So the one where I debated the trans Trump supporter, S tier. I would say it's an easy S tier. I think that's yeah. So here's the reason why. Basically, all of my S tier debates, and this is like good for introspection for me, right? Completely agree with that one. Thank you. Basically, all of my S tier debates, as I'm seeing it right now, have one thing in common. I make all of my points perfectly. The content is entertaining. And also, I'm able to basically, if not completely, convince the other person of my views. Like, meaningfully reach them as well as the other. Because, like, if I reach the other person, I'm going to reach the audience, right? Like, that's basically a given. I'll reach at least the reasonable person. And then that was my least inflammatory, my most conversational. Like, literally, I probably never raised my... Like, there was actually a problem where I just got this mic... Like, I had just gotten this mic and I wasn't using a cloud lifter. Thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. But yeah, so basically, like I was just... So, like, even aside from my sound just being, like, inherently less loud than normal because I was still figuring it out, I just was, like, very, very... like chill. I was very conversational. A lot of the times, he came in and was like, "Hey, I don't know a lot. Hey, these are my views." And I was like, "All right, that's fine. That's all good. I'm not trying to pressure you. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to bully you or whatever. Let's just tell me why you believe the things that you do." And we just walked through it bit by bit by bit, right? And by the end of it, he basically had sold me on the idea that I had meaningfully reached him. And I felt like I had actually meaningfully made an impact in this person's life, Like someone, and also it's one of the most meaningful debates that stands out to me in my head. Because like the reason why he had the political views that he did, by the end of the conversation, if people remember, was just because all he knew about politics, because remember at the time I was streaming ESO, like I wasn't like streaming politics, I was just streaming gaming and research, right? And so he was looking for like a gaming channel, he was looking for an ESO streamer, and he just happened to wander into my chat and also be a trans Trump supporter. Lots of things that happened to line up, right? But basically all he knew about politics was he knew that there was Trump and he knew that there was Biden, and otherwise he didn't know a whole lot. And the thing that he cared most about was which aesthetically looked like the stronger leader. And that was it, right? Like, that was it. I think that we here on the online left, but also in online political discussion, tend to get so focused in and so deep into various arguments. I think that we tend to forget that there are a lot of people in America and broadly in the world who just don't know that much, you know? Like there are lots of reasonable people who vote certain ways, but probably don't really know the first basic thing about politics. And you all know these kind of people IRL. I know that you do. You all live in the same world that I do, unless you're complete fucking total like shut-ins and you don't interact with people. Like, yeah, that's a lot of people, especially in the United States, right? And this was a really good example of how to be able to talk to one of those people. I would recommend that everyone in my chat go and watch that video. Like that is probably like that, the Destiny and the Buck Angel, easily my top 3 favorite debates as far as how I performed and how I would want you all to perform in debates going forward. Like, is it sometimes good to be able to like really dunk on people and like humiliate them in front of chat? Like, sure. Yeah, that can be fun. That can be useful to some degree. But like, those are debates that can teach you how you should act with other people. Okay? That's the best debate IMO. Yeah, I think that that's a reasonable opinion. I think that's entirely reasonable. Similar to the Vosh debate with the viewer called in whether or not he should vote for Trump or Biden. I didn't watch, or I may have watched that one. Holy shit. Thank you for boosting the server. Another person. I really appreciate it. That's a lot of you. And that's awesome. But anyway, so that brings us back to, let's see, and this will be a good time. This will be a pretty good timing. That brings us back to the last debate, Manamalian. So Manamalian and also the most recent debate with the person who like criticized me, basically both of them can be categorized with the like both of them basically had like the same kind of vibe, right? And I'm going to explain this a little bit, right? Because this basically goes into why I am shifting my content in the way that I am, and I'll talk about it more later, but like going into 2021. You all know the documents that I made for research, right? Like, for example, if we go to, let's go to twitter.com. My pinned one, this is the one. So this is the one that I used with Manamalian, right? The Trans Predators doc. Super well researched, super well organized. You can basically be able to go and immediately just like glance at this and have the exact kind of information that you want. It is ideal if what you're trying to do is debate someone and you want to have information as quickly as possible, right? Like if that's what you want, then this is a good format. And I'm glad that we tried it. I'm glad that we put together some research docs in this format to try it out. Here's the problem with that. When you do that and you're arguing against someone who just doesn't agree with your sources, like literally, I cited the American Psychological Association, the World Health Organization, the Canadian Institutes of Health Research. Like I cited everything to Manamalian, and Manamalian was just like, nah, that's not what it says, or I don't believe it, or I just don't agree with it, or, you know, I don't see the overwhelming scientific consensus, even though that's literally what it says, right? Like, there are some people, like, I think that we have in our idea, and mind you, most of the time, to be able to have that information easily on hand is good if what you're trying to do is to dunk on people. If that's the purpose of what you're trying to do, then yeah, like, those kind of documents are good. But this debate, for as fun as it was, and there is entertainment value in it, was I able to convince Manamalian? No. And there's literally nothing that I will ever be able to say in my entire life to be able to convince him. Like, I am absolutely so, like, there is literally nothing, right? Like, this is the person who masked off at the, like, I forced him into a corner and forced him to say that, yeah, he would check people's genitals to determine what gender they are, right? Like, yeah, that is the kind of person that I was debating. And I should have dealt with him, I believe, in the way that I did, because I don't believe that he actually had any merit to any of his arguments, and I believe he was acting in bad faith. Again, you can watch the video yourself and make that own determination. So in that sense, I feel like I performed very well. So for example, let's go through the 5 criteria. Was I credible? Yeah, I would say so. I had basically everything I could ever desire for resources to be able to cite to. So 5 out of 5 on credibility. Did I have entertainment value? Yeah, no, it was pretty entertaining. Like, it was pretty good. Was I likable in that sense? Probably not. I got about like basically this debate vibed in a very similar way to my debate with Mars, right? Sorry, man. Got to make sure you don't have one of those pesky Y chromosomes before yeah, I know, right? But basically, for the same reason that I would not make, even though like the debate with Mars went over very well and like I dunked on him like incredibly hard. For the same reason that I would not put Mars in S tier, I would not put Manamalian in S tier, even though I feel like I did very, very well. And I would say that so basically, I would say that I did as well with Manamalian as I did with Mars and Janae. Like these three basically all, and even here, right? Like a lot of these have very similar like vibes to them. So I'm going to put this in A tier. And I believe that's it. Let me think about this just for a second. I feel like this about pans out, you know? So basically for the top, all right, and then if we want to like make it even more atomistic, I'm going to say that this actually was my best debate ever. I'm going to put Destiny, actually no, I'm going to put Destiny third and this second. And then if we want to get super atomistic into here, I would say this, I'm going to say that this is my fourth best ever. I'm going to say that this is my fifth. I'm going to say that this is, I'll say that Mo is my sixth. I think that Mo can be my sixth. And I'll say that Manamalian is seventh and Janae is eighth. Then I'll say, honestly, I just don't really remember these two. So I'll say 9 here and then like 10, 11, 12, 13. There we go. So there are the tiers and then left, right for like exact like comparison between them. All right. But yeah, so basically what I want to take from this, right? Because there's like a cool bit of introspection here, right? I've been thinking a lot, and I'll go to the full screen about this. So basically, I've been thinking a lot recently about what kind of content I want to do in 2021. Obviously, I want to be able to meaningfully contribute to the online political discussion. I want to be able to educate you all, and I also want to be able to do content that I enjoy, you know? And that's one of, honestly, my main considerations, right? Like, I want to make sure that I'm doing content that I enjoy, that fulfills me, and, you know, that helps others as well, right? Do I think that the debates where I just dunk on people for basically an hour help a lot of people? Well, do I think that they're fun? Like, in a sense, yeah, they're fun. You know, I have fun with them. There is like this larger question, though, of what do they accomplish? Are there some people who may have watched those debates who are undecided and may have had their opinions solidified after? Possibly. Do I think that they warranted? Do I think that like those small amount of people who do that warrant me literally exposing myself to people who just argue in bad faith, especially over something as basic as whether or not I'm a woman, which does take a mental toll on me? Probably not. Holy shit! Jurassic Anarchist Shane, thank you for boosting the server. Y'all, thank you. But anyway, so basically what I've realized, especially like with the list that we made, the content that I like to make the most are the ones which help you win arguments, right? Like I do want us to win. Like there is like a degree where, well, actually not a degree, like to be clear, I want to win. Like we have the right side. I want us to win. But winning is not just being as combative as possible with other people who have views different to us. And I want to make that very clear to people. Winning does not always mean dunking on other people as hard as possible. To me, what I think that winning is, and where I think that we have had some of the greatest victories in this channel over this year, has been where we have been able to win over people either who have no opinions on various issues or who had different opinions from us. Now, it's a lot harder, and I'm not going to spend nearly as much time trying to necessarily like de-radicalize people because that is really hard to do. But what I do think is that there's a lot of merit in being able to teach you what is, you know, the arguments so that you are the most credible, but also the rhetoric skills that you need to be the most likable. Because you see, the right does a really good job of doing the latter and not the former. They do a really good job of optically looking very likable, very presentable, very professional. They have the suits and the ties, and they don't look like skinheads. They look like professional, like educated people. They're able to pull off an aesthetic of looking credible when we know that they're not because they're wrong. We need to be able to play both of those games well. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to engage with people who are acting in bad faith because I don't think that it is going to be nearly as productive for my time, either personally for my mental health or for you all in learning how to be able to deal with that. Now, you will have the arguments and the evidence to be able to deal with bad faith actors on the internet because they do exist out there, and I want to prepare you on how to deal with them. I am going to be more focused on both delivering those skills to you as well as the skills necessary to be able to win over as many people as possible. Because those, I believe, are where the most meaningful change can be made. Send tweet. Yeah. Let me save and download this. Let's see. Description, download image. All right. Let's see. Post to Twitter. Show in folder. All right, let's see. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. There we go. Let's see. 6:25. Cool. I have someone coming on in 5 minutes. Hey, there should be, if you're coming in and I'm interviewing you, hop into the waiting room. I'll bring you in. Really like this, Riley. Thank you. Your makeup looks pog today, but thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I got some makeup for Christmas, and I've been looking up tutorials. And hey, also new vibe for the year. I'm gonna do a lot more work trying to be like trying to be professional, but also cute. That's like the vibe for the year is like cute but professional, you know, which I like. And yeah, so all that good stuff. Let's see. There we go. There's the tweet. Go like it. It's a good tweet. I actually like that I did that. It's good for like introspection. Oh, by the way, for people who haven't done so yet, there's this Discord. See this chat above? Yeah, you should totally join it. Let me do a quick check. So basically, stick around. Another really cool conversation that we're going to be having is basically here. Let me go full screen. So basically, someone reached out to me and emailed me. Well, actually, it's cool because there's actually a friend of mine who put me in contact with someone who works in an organization that's very deep into helping deal with the Uyghur genocide over in China. Now, I am coming into this as someone who basically knows nothing about that genocide, and I am very honest about that up front. So essentially, I'm trying to use it. I'm using, like, for people who are familiar with my prior content. And if you remember my first conversation with Vera Wild, essentially the conversation I am looking to have is with someone who knows about this, and I'm not going to push back, right? Like, I'm not going to challenge the validity of these claims. I'm going to take everything as is because I trust this person. They seem to be credible. And it's going to be more about me trying to learn about what is happening and trying to learn alongside my chat. Okay? So that's the idea. Once they hop into the waiting room, we'll get that. Let me go ahead and, oh God, what was I doing? I completely fucking forgot. Oh wait, no, I was gonna check my mail or my email and see what they're up to. All right, let's see. But yeah, welcome to every like all the new peepos. Y'all are great. Oh, and also, thanks for there's a new patron, Penelope Land, or I won't say your name. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I have to fix it. This is gonna be something I need to do over the new year. Normally I'm able to get, so there's like a notification like on stream when people support me on Patreon. And by the way, if you want a colored name in chat, then support me on Patreon. But for some reason it hasn't been working lately. I just need to figure it out. And yeah, I don't know why. It has not been working, but I will acknowledge it when I am able to, and I appreciate it all of the same. Let's see. All right. They are supposed to be here, and they are not. All right. So talk to me, chat. How are y'all doing? How are you vibing? How are you chilling? But very chatty. Riley, there's some key points I want to mention about the genocide. Okay. Well, hey, you know what? Here, this is something that we can do in the meanwhile. So I'm going to switch to another chat where we can look up some quick stuff. So I had people send me some information. Like, while we're waiting for them to get here, actually, this could be like a good opportunity because what I can effectively do then, I just verified them. They got caught by the alt identifier. Oh, cool. All right. Then just send them into the waiting room. Yeah, you don't know. Yeah, most people don't know much. I mean, like, I also get caught up on just like how to be able to spell it. But yeah, like, I'll be paying attention, and also there'll be here. Let me go ahead and bring up, like, I had some people send me information on it. So here, I'm sorry, chat. You are gone for a moment. Boom, 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 boom. Oh my God, y'all sent me so much. I am really sorry. I've just been crazy busy today. All right, so to read over some of the headlines that you left me, Human Rights Watch breakdown of the CCP surveillance network and how it's used, an ongoing tracker of the 83 international businesses using coerced Uyghur labor for manufacturing, more recent BBC article on the camps outlining shifting goalposts, and the CCP's new line about the camps being for heavy quotes vocational training. CNN article on the unexplained drop in birth rates in Xinjiang, and China's denial of forced sterilization practices that we have multiple firsthand accounts for. This one is from the Campaign for Uyghur's own website, which is its own worth checking out. Cool, awesome. All right, let's see. There you are, stream chat. I'm sorry. All right, so let's see. Time to pog out of control. Yeah, no, for real. But no, welcome everyone. Yeah, so if you all could help our guests get into the waiting room and get verified, then that would be super helpful. In the meantime, why don't we, here, let me close some of this up, do a little bit of pre-reading about genocide. Let's see, where's the great, oh wait, we can't start here because absolutely no mercy. Leaked files expose how China organized mass detentions of Muslims. More than 400 pages of international Chinese documents provide an unprecedented inside look at the crackdown on ethnic minorities in the Xinjiang region. NPR report satellite images reveal suspected detention sites in China's Jiangxing region. All right, so there are detention sites that are happening. China's algorithms of repression, reverse engineering at Jiangxing's police mass surveillance app. Summary: since late 2016, the Chinese government has subjected 13 million ethnic Uyghurs and other Turkic Muslims in Jiangxing to mass arbitrary detention, forced political indoctrination, restrictions on movement, and religious oppression. Credible estimates indicate that under this heightened repression, up to 1 million people are being held in political education, heavy quotation, camps. The government's Strike Hard campaign against violent terrorism. Really? Strike Hard campaign against violent terrorism? Damn, anytime that you want to get your government behind oppressing a minority, I guess you just say that they're all terrorists. Doesn't that sound reminiscent of anything happening anywhere in the world? I mean, like in America. I mean, what? Anyway. Has turned Jiangxing into one of China's major centers for using innovative technologies for social controls. Oh, hey, is there a video?
I used to be one of those people, like, I got nothing to hide, I'm just a student, but I was very wrong. They're targeting everyone. As long as you're going out of your house, you're being surveilled.
In Xinjiang, in northwestern China, 13 million Turkic Muslims are already enduring extraordinary suppression at the hands of the Chinese government. And authorities there are building a surveillance state to be able to track their every move.
Across the northwestern province of Xinjiang, an estimated 1 million Chinese Muslims have vanished into a vast network of detention centers for what China calls re-education.
The region is now under what's probably the most intense government surveillance in the world.
Every 200 meters would have a police checkpoint. And then on top of that, there are all these checkpoints at public places wherever you go. If you're Uyghur, they stop you. They would just say, "Where's your ID? I want to check your ID." They would punch in the ID number and then they would see everything about you.
One tool at the heart of Xinjiang's surveillance system is the IJOP, or the Integrated Joint Operations Platform. The IJOP has an app that's used by police and government officials to track extraordinary amounts of personal information about individuals, ranging from their religious habits to their blood type.
Human Rights Watch got a hold of a copy of the app and used a technique called reverse engineering to look at the source code, basically the design of the app. This is what it looks like when an officer pulls up an individual's profile. They enter the person's name, ID number, ethnicity, and then the officer takes a photo of the person's ID card to see if that matches the person's face. As you scroll, you see more information is being collected from the person, including their address, how tall they are, their blood type, their educational level, their occupation, their political affiliation, information about their car, license plate, driver's name, driver's ID card number.
On its surface, most of this information looks like standard fare for police, but as we dig deeper into the app, we can see that ordinary, routine, legal behavior is being treated by authorities as suspect.
This is what it looks like when the IJOP system has flagged someone whose phone number the system has lost track of. The IJOP system sends an alert to government officials to go and investigate the reason why that phone number has gone missing, and note if this person is suspicious and requires further investigation. Or here's another example. This is a report that the IJOP system sends to government officials about someone who used an unusual amount of electricity. The report includes the date in which the unusual amount of electricity used was logged by the system, how much electricity was used, what was the meter reading, and what is the usual range of electricity used. Then the government official is required to go and investigate this person.
If you use WhatsApp or Viber or Telegram, that might be considered suspicious. If you go at the back door of your house instead of the front, the police might turn up to investigate. The list goes on. The information from the app feeds into a central system and combines with information from other surveillance systems, including CCTV cameras that rely on facial recognition software, and even Wi-Fi sniffers that are used as people walk through checkpoints to pull information off their phones. The IJOP system aggregates all this data about people, flags those it deems suspicious, and sends alerts to nearby officials. These dubious criteria are being used to identify large numbers of people, many of whom are then arbitrarily locked up.
In total, I spent about a month in different jails. I wasn't officially accused of anything or charged with anything. The official paperwork said something like, I was arrested under the suspicion of disrupting the societal order. Then after that, I was basically under house arrest, because they marked my ID card.
It's time for the Chinese government to stop persecuting perfectly legal behavior. It's time for the Chinese government to end its repression of Turkic Muslims in Xinjiang, and it's time for it to dismantle this surveillance state.
Fuck. Fuck. That's a lot of fucked. Yeah, that's really horrifying reminder. Authoritarianism is bad, people, and this is why. Because if you have a government with too much power, and that government is able to list whoever it wants as a terrorist organization, it means that government can do whatever they want with you. Yeah, it's the Patriot Act package, basically. Yeah, but it's not even just Islamophobia is bad. I mean, like, think about like this past summer when we're talking about Antifa, right? Like Trump labeling Antifa as a terrorist organization, because you can totally do that. Even fucking Biden was able to acknowledge in a presidential debate that you can't call Antifa a political or like a terrorist group because it's a fucking idea. It's not even a group or an organization, right? Like, even fucking Biden was able to understand that much and was able to say that in the political debate, right? Like, but just because that isn't necessarily the case, or just because someone isn't technically a terrorist, doesn't mean that a government won't still label them as terrorists or as other undesirable or, like, you know, like, heavy quotations, dangerous groups, if it means that they can justify doing whatever they want with them. They're not protesters, they're thugs. They're not Muslims, they're terrorists, right? Like, basically just go down the list of every minority, even with Manamalian, right? It's not trans people, it's exhibitionists and voyeurs, right? Like, you just, like, blanketly paint an entire minority of people that you want as something bad, and that gives you the justification to be able to do whatever you want to them, you know? And yeah, when that mentality combines with authoritarian government, you get this. So that's bad. That shit was surprising, honestly. Yeah, we left my. Wait, hold on. Are you talking like Are you talking like from the government's position? Because I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, like, hey, maybe under a Biden administration, that's gonna be a little bit better. Especially it's all right. I got you. The self. All right. Yeah. The self shout out. Yeah. I gotcha. The reports of bulldozing Uyghur graveyards and forced sterilization is the most soul chilling shit for me. It's not even just the re-education. It's the erasure of any cultural signifiers. Yeah, for fucking real. So I get some more. Okay. So this seems to be, all right. So that's breaking down. This is basically like like a source breaking down like the application and the use of that. China, 83 major brands implicated in report on forced labor of ethnic minorities from Jiangxing assigned to factories across provinces, including company responses. So basically, there's a lot of discussion on like how Uyghur people are being like forced into work environments, which is not great. Re-education camps, that was discussed in the video. Let's see. Jiangxing government confirms huge birth rate drop, but denies forced sterilization of women. All right, here, let's see. Chinese officials have officially acknowledged birth rates in Jiangxing dropped by almost a third. Fuck, a third? Are you fucking serious? A third in 2018 compared to the previous year in a letter to CNN, in which they also denied reports of forced sterilization and genocide by authorities in the far western region. Okay, so that makes sense. Why? So basically, if you support China, then it means that you are much more likely to adopt, not necessarily determinative, but it means you're much more likely to adopt their position, because their position is, oh, we're not forced sterilizing people or genociding people. It's that we're doing whatever it is their official story is. Okay, so that makes sense. The Jiangxing government sent CNN a six-page fax in response to questions for an article published in July that documented a campaign of abuse and control by Beijing targeted women from the Uyghur minority, a Muslim ethnic group numbering more than 10 million people. Fax didn't arrive until September 1st, a month after the story was published. These aren't the first accusations of widespread human rights abuses by the Chinese government. At Xinjiang, up to 2 million Uyghurs and other Muslim minorities are believed to have been placed in mass detention centers. And the reason, according to the U.S. State Department, where they've been alleged to have been subject to indoctrination and abuse. All right, hold on. But CNN's reports found that some Uyghur women were being forced to use birth control and undergo sterilization as part of a deliberate attempt to push down birth rates among minorities in Xinjiang. Now, my understand from people who, so like there's like a bad faith way to be able to construct the counter argument, and there's a good faith way. Basically, like there was one time where I had Mel on here, and Mel was being accused of being a Uyghur genocide denialist, and she said affirmatively that she wasn't, but she also said that she was concerned with how like governments in the West can use propaganda to be able to manipulate the way that people view events, which sucks because like I don't know, she's biased because she supports China, but also there's probably like there could be truth to the idea that like media might manipulate things to make the story seem more preferable or antagonistic to a certain side. So it's hard to be able, so like, I'm not bringing that up to be able to say that like, I'm discounting this, like I'm believing this at face value, but those are generally like the responses to this, right? Is basically to say that like, oh yes, we're hearing this from like these sources, but they're not trustworthy. I tend to believe that they are trustworthy. But actually, hold on. I guess you don't have to take it from me because we have someone who it looks like they are finally ready for joining the call. So without further ado, why don't we go ahead and begin our chat? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, finally. I
Hey.
heard you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
No, I'm so glad that we were able to get you on here. So thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy schedule. I think that this is a really cool opportunity for an educational discussion, and there are a lot of people in my audience who have been wanting to learn about this. So thank you so much. Before we get too far into things, could you introduce to everyone who you are and who you represent?
Yes, my name is Rushan Abbas, and I am Uyghur American, and I'm the founder and executive director of Campaign for Uyghurs.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That is absolutely amazing. So what does some of that work involve? So you founded and you are the executive director. So what does that work generally entail for you?
Well, what's happening right now is our people, the Uyghur people, are facing modern day genocide, basically active genocide by the Chinese regime. There are more than 3 million people are in the concentration camps, and millions more are being enslaved, sent to forced labor facilities. Basically, the tragedy that has been unfolding currently is not only, it's beyond the comprehension and the comparable to the worst human rights atrocities to the world has seen, but it's not that far from us. When we are starting to see right here at home too, the Chinese regime is not only being able to get away with their wicked practices of its crimes against humanity in front of the entire world community, but implementing the control, the cheat, and the manipulation, and the silencing and the forcing to coincident and the submission from our free society here in the US, and from our universities and our corporations, and even places like NBA, Disney, and the Hollywood, and even some of the Western scholars.
Okay.
And the mainstream media.
Yeah. So that's a lot of information. So actually, it might be better for our chat if we could break it down bit by bit. So I'm actually really curious because again, like I was telling my chat, we were doing a bit of reading. I had people send me links to read over before this conversation because I'm coming in with someone who does not know much about, like I admit, like I'm a novice in regards to all this. So I'm learning along with my community about this. So where does this begin? Like, why is this happening in the first place?
the Chinese Communist government occupied our homeland, basically at the beginning of the establishment of People's Republic of China in 1949. And they have been relentlessly trying to destroy our culture, and they try to assimilate Uyghur people under the different labels. Like when you look at it during the 50s, the Uyghurs were nationalists, and the 60s during the Great Cultural Revolution, we were labeled as counter-revolutionaries. And then, after that, like 80s and the 90s as separatists, and after 9/11 tragedy in the United States, the Uyghurs all of a sudden in overnight became terrorists just because they are Muslims. The true reason for all this right now is the resources, natural resources, our homeland held like 1/3 of China's natural gas and the oil reserves, and 40% of coal reserves, and the fossil fuel and uraniums and the gold and the jade, as well as 84% of China's cotton output come from our homeland, and it's about 1/6 of entire China. So the China's, the CCP's policy is, instead of leaving, everybody live equal rights and equal life, actually what they are doing today is CCP's version of Nazi Germany's final solution. Even one of the high-level Chinese government official, Hu Lianhe, he said it actually, the Uyghur problem must be taken to the final solution stage. Well, basically, currently, everybody hear about the Belt and Road Initiative that China is basically, running on the both the land and the sea lines, the new Silk Road too. That is causing the destruction in our homeland, and they are populating the massive concentration camps because Xi Jinping's signature project for the global domination, the Belt and Road Initiative, puts our homeland in the epicenter of this project.
So that could be a really good place. So, okay, I think that the motive is pretty clear. It sounds like they're very interested in the resources that your land has available. It's very resource rich.
Yes.
They want to be able to take it. You don't want to give that over. They label you as terrorists. They can do whatever they want with you.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
that's very clear, description of what's happening.
okay. That is awful, to say the least. So how did they begin sort of everything that they're doing right now? Like, what were some of the, oh my God, my camera just turned off. You can continue talking. I'm going to switch this to my main monitor. But could you explain, like, what are some of the very first things that the government did to begin, like what were some of the first steps that they began with in the genocide?
It starts actually when, okay, let me go back a little bit. After the Great Cultural Revolution, 1979, China started to open up to the Western countries and established democratic relationship with United States. That was 1979. So about some years, 10, 12 years, we call it, that was the most, golden stage, golden period, actually. That's when I went to high school and university. I graduated university in 1988. But as you know, what happened at the 1989, the Tiananmen Square massacre, when the Chinese students demanded a little bit of freedom and the democracy, they basically, massacred the students. And then in my homeland, started with like a Baran massacre in 1990. That is the beginning of all this genocidal policies. 1990, there's a little town called Barn, and the people were, peacefully protesting, and the Chinese government came in with weapons and they shoot and they killed everybody, and then just blamed those were terrorists. And then followed the Nohulje incident in 1997, and then Urumqi massacre in 2009, which was essentially testing the water for the atrocities we are seeing right now. And then beginning of like 2014 and the 2015, 2016, the Chinese government started to incarcerate the most well-known Uyghurs in the public eye, like the elites and the famous and the the people who can lead the Uyghur people.
Sure.
And the like college professors, university presidents, famous singers, actors, basically eliminating anyone who can use, extend, or defend the Uyghur ideology and values or lead the Uyghur people.
What was the basis
So
for
they
that
were on target.
incarceration? If you don't mind me
What's
asking,
that?
what was the basis for
Mhm.
that incarceration? Like, what justification did the government give for those incarcerations?
Okay, what happened is they brought Chen Chuanguo, the party secretary from Tibet, over to run the region as a party secretary. And when he came in, first he started to incarcerate elites, saying that they were spreading ideological diseases like Uyghur nationalism among the Uyghurs by producing like books or textbooks. But then those are the textbooks produced by the education ministry's approval. All the work that those Uyghur intellectuals have done under the government's rule and the regulations, all of a sudden when the government changed its policies and it became more like ultra-nationalistic and racist, the government, and tried to, as I mentioned, try to run the final solution to eliminate Uyghur people, they used those. And also people who practice normal, just a very ordinary, normal practice of Islam were targeted as Islamic extremists and the radicalized Muslims if they were just fasting during Ramadan, or if they refused to eat pork, or even if Uyghur girls, they don't want to marry Han Chinese guys because she has a boyfriend or she loves somebody else or she doesn't love this Chinese guy. And those Uyghur girls are also being labeled as extremists because in the government's eyes, she didn't want to marry non-Muslim Han Chinese. That's how the excuses started to begin. And as of today, as I mentioned, more than 3 million people who are being detained in the concentration camps, they were not charged with any crimes. They are not like extremists or, they are not doing anything illegal. But when China is outlining all the normal religious activities as illegal Islamic activities, anything you do, you can be charged,
Yeah.
For
no, that-
example, my sister, look, I give you my personal example.
Okay.
My sister is a retired medical doctor.
Mhm.
She speaks fluent Chinese. She dresses just like me. She doesn't cover, she's not radicalized, or she's not like practicing any kind of religious activities, but she has been taken 6 days after I speak on the panel at the Institute, one of the think tanks here in Washington, when I talked about those concentration camps and the incarceration of my in-laws for nothing. And then they took her. And recently, we just actually heard very devastating news about my sister. She was sentenced for 20 years. Actually, we are organizing a press conference tomorrow at 12:30 with congressional executive
on what basis?
commission on
Like,
China.
on what basis did they sentence her for 20 years? Like, on what grounds legally?
Terrorism, can you believe it? Terrorism.
For
my sister?
terrorism, any
Yeah.
specific action, any specific example, any specific like is it was it
No,
nothing. Just
nothing, not even family was notified. We just heard from some credible source that has access to government information. And I have been screaming so loud and everywhere, and social media, writing in op-eds, talking everywhere. And I just find out on Christmas Day that she was sentenced for 20 years on March 2019, 20 months ago. It was a secret trial or whatever, like,
Yeah.
oh, any kind of evidence was submitted, nothing. She's just taken the sentence on the charges of supporting terrorism or participating in terrorist acts. Can you imagine that?
I would like to think that we live in a world where I couldn't imagine it, but unfortunately, I'm more cynical and I can. But that is awful beyond comparison. So basically, if I'm understanding this right, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just trying to make sure that I understand. Essentially, this started out as you have a group of people, minority people in a part of China that has desirable, financially profitable resources, and they were engaging in activities like publishing books, which were completely legal under prior Chinese law, and then eventually it was changed, and Chinese law made it so that just one day later, they decided that those actions were now either illegal or some form of terrorism. And now the group, just by virtue of identifying with the group even, can be labeled as terrorism and can be sentenced for prison time or whatever it is they do for sentencing. Is that essentially what I'm hearing?
Yes, exactly. The Chinese regime basically has declared all Uyghur people are a people that need to be cured because of their ethnicity, race, and religion, and the government has deliberately trying to exterminate them. When there was a CNN interview, if you search Sui Tian Kai and the CNN, I think that was in spring of 2019, when the reporter asked him about these camps. Well, back then they were claiming those are re-education centers. He said it actually very clearly. He said, by putting the Uyghurs through those re-education centers, the government is trying to make them normal people. Imagine that. The Uyghur people are viewed by the government abnormal commodity because they speak different language, because they call their God in different names, because they have different group, they have, they belong to different ethnic group, and they are in different race. Can you imagine, basically,
It's
so
awful.
that
Yeah.
with that attitude, if you hear these words, what's happening? Forced marriage, mass rape, Orwellian surveillance, forced abortion, mandatory birth control, forced sterilization, arrest, torture, child abduction, brainwashing, organ harvesting, crematorias next to the concentration camps, all that lead to genocide, basically. That's
Okay.
why I call it
Yeah,
genocide.
So let me ask you then, because there was someone. So basically, there are some people. So I interact with a lot of people on the online left, and I'm not going to say this as if this is something that I believe. This is only to the extent that I've heard it, because there are people online who basically are China supporters, right? And they will say, they will either deny or downplay the existence of the genocide, and they will say usually something to the effect of either outright denying it or, oh, it's not as bad. Like, yeah, there's something happening, but it's not as bad as people make it out to seem. And, just being overplayed by different people in the media, right? So like, how do you respond to people who like what accounts have there been of directly observing things like forced sterilization or these different kinds of crimes in concentration camps? Have you observed any of it? Have you worked with people who have been exposed in these things? Like, what do you have to say to the people who would say this isn't happening? It's being, it's being overplayed, or it's not happening?
Well, much of the proof of what's happening comes from Chinese government regime's own documents, official Chinese documents. And when you look at, it comes from Chinese regimes or their own contradictory narratives. If I start from one by one, at first, they denied the existence of those so-called re-education centers. They said no, nothing like that happens. We don't have those.
Hmm.
Then, after overwhelming evidence of satellite imageries and the Chinese government's documents and the witnesses actually who are being released, and the reporters doing excellent job covering the stories from all over the world, not just the United States, but Australia, Japan, and the UK and Europe. And then once they were, overwhelming evidence, they said, oh, those are the re-education centers and the vocational camps. Then, this narrative is shown to be lies based on the people who are being detained when you talk to those former
Right.
detainees.
Hmm.
And also, when I talk about the forced sterilizations and the forced, abortions, well, we have been talking to the Uyghurs in abroad. Almost more than 80% of the Uyghur women who lived after they get married, who lived in China, and then they went to abroad. There are about, almost 1 million Uyghurs in the diaspora.
I'm sorry, you just need
Every
to
one of
speak.
them.
Sometimes you're cutting out a little bit, so just make sure you're speaking clearly in the microphone. Just because you're explaining a
Okay,
lot and it's
sorry.
really good information. I just won't want any of it to be
Yeah.
lost.
When you talk to the Uyghur women in diaspora, there are so many of them that has worked in the hospitals, either as nurses or doctors. They have performed those forced abortions on the women. And also when you talk to Uyghurs, more than half of the Uyghurs are living in diaspora. If they were married, they left, they all say that they had to have a forced abortion. And also now the current documents all come from the Chinese government's own documents, leaked documents, and their own data and their birth control and the Uyghur population's growth and all that. So and the other the crimes against humanity that's happening, like over 500,000 Uyghur children sent to government-run orphanages. We have so many parents, they are looking for their children.
Hmm.
Now, currently, last 10 days or so, more than 2,000 Uyghurs in Istanbul, in front of the Chinese consulate, they are holding the pictures of their kids, their parents, their brothers and sisters, demanding answers on whereabouts of their family members.
That's awful. So let me ask you, just so that people in chat can be able to go and investigate this in their own. And this is by no means the end of the conversation. I just want to know, like, is there any way to, do you have any place where you recommend that people can find information, like people, because there are a lot of people who are watching this right now. Like I'm looking at my chat and there's basically a lot of people who are saying, holy shit, what the fuck? This is absolutely insane. This is madness. This is evil. Where would you best recommend that they go to be able to find out more information on this subject, or at least everything we've talked about so far?
Yeah, we try to post the enough like resources and information on our website, campaignforuyghurs.org, and there's a tab called resources. Under that, we have listed all the like leaked documents. There are like 3 sets of Chinese government's leaked documents, and also there is a genocide report that Campaign for Uyghurs compiled, and they just simply going on the Google and the Google Uyghur, just Google the word Uyghur. There's overwhelming information out there.
Right.
And also there is a documentary coming up in a couple of weeks, full-length documentary. And the name of the documentary is In Search of My Sister, which is basically my sister's story and following my advocacy work around the world. But the documentary interviews most of the Uyghur scholars or China experts or activists or witnesses. There are like overwhelming information on that. But for people to just read campaignforuyghurs.org website under the resources has a lot of information to begin with.
Yeah, no, that definitely sounds incredibly helpful. Yeah, and someone's already linked it in chat. So again, I direct everyone to go there. We'll probably pin it in chat. We'll have it available in our website for a while. I'll tweet about it later. I'll try to do what I can to be able to spread awareness. If I would, if it would be possible, another thing that we had as a chat kind of looked into or read about before having you come on was some of the surveillance that has been done or that's being done on the Uyghur people. Is there any extent that you're able to talk about that either from a firsthand account or at, the position, from the position that you have in your organization?
Yes, basically, when you look at they call it Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, and we use the word East Turkestan, which is a symbolic and a historical name. So when you look at our homeland, every place has like checkpoints on every corner, and the like airport style screening parts on the streets. Just when you walk on the streets, you stop and go through those kind of checkpoints, and also QR scanning codes on every home. Can you imagine that? QR scanning codes to monitor who's going inside of your house and who's going out, and also facial recognition software and everywhere. GPS tracking devices on every vehicle. So basically every Uyghur is being monitored and surveilled. And also their ID card has a special chip, and their cell phones, every single Uyghur people, they have to have a special spy app on their cell phone. Every phone call coming in and out are being monitored. So the worst thing is when you talk about this, you feel like this is happening in the other side of the world, in the far northwest corner of China. But no, Chinese government is using what they are doing in our homeland as a pilot program and now exporting to other part of the world.
What other parts of the world is this happening in right now? Like for other examples.
There are about more than actually a dozen countries that there are news reports that it's being exported in Latin America, and also Southeast Asia and the Central Asia and some part of the Middle East. Basically, the Chinese government is colonizing the entire, developing countries or African countries or Middle Eastern countries, and the Muslim majority countries through the debt trap diplomacy, and also the trade threats and the manipulation in United Nations as the second largest donor, basically keeping anybody from speaking out about these brutalities. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a lot. So when you say that they're exporting, so essentially what they're doing is they're sending the technology that they're using to be able to spy on Uyghur people within China to other countries as a way to kind of like handshake with those countries, like, hey, we're sending you this technology so that you can use it. Don't say anything negative about what we're doing. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, exactly. And a lot of governments that's not so democratic systems like we have in this great country, for them it's great way of controlling their people, basically.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, when when your ideals are not exactly democratic in nature, then having a way to be able to have surveillance on, giant, swaths of population as efficiently as possible definitely sounds appealing. Which is terrible, but understandable for why, China can be able to work with those countries. That's so I have to wonder then. So are there many people who are able to? So there are the re-education camps, or very heavy quotations re-education camps. Are there many accounts of people being able to get out or escape from those? And I mean, like we've already talked about forced abortions. We've already talked about re-education. Normally, what does like re-education, very heavy quotations, like, do you know like what actually happens for the most part in those camps. Again, we may have talked about it before, but just to rehash the point.
Yeah. According to some of the news reports and the people who are being released, or some people lucky enough to get out of China because they belong to other countries, like Kazakh citizens who are maybe ethnic Uyghur, maybe married to foreign citizens, or holding a passport of different countries. So they are actually speaking out and telling what they have faced inside of those so-called re-education centers. Very intense indoctrination, basically brainwashing them with the communist atheist ideologies, praising Xi Jinping as God, and basically submitting themselves for the communist communist party. And also they are subject to mental and the physical torture. And they're not getting enough water to drink, so really bad dehydration, which basically damages your internal systems when you don't get enough to drink. And also very low nutrition, like at one point there were some reports about 600 calories a day. And there are some video clips of Uyghurs being released, and that they look like some of these pictures from the Holocaust survivors when the Allies went and they saved them. One bone, one skin, basically, almost look like skeletons. And also many young, healthy people, after being into the concentration camps, they are released and dying after just a couple of weeks later. I have a very close friend, actually, who was taken, who was actually university graduate, my age, very healthy young man, Boris Abubakar. He was in the concentration camp for 11 months. After he was released, he died. This is actually reported in the few media outlets. And there's this young man who killed himself to avoid, committed suicide to avoid taking to the concentration camps, because he heard how terrible the concentration camps are. When the Chinese government is claiming about how the people are happy, they're dancing and singing and getting re-educated and learning vocational skills so they can get jobs, but there's a reporter, AP reporter. She's Han Chinese, actually. She spent days and the days reading thousands of documents, Chinese documents, from like a purchase order, like online. So she recovered actually one facility, just one so-called re-education center, purchased like more than 3,000 pepper sprays, and then like 1,100 handcuffs, and the how many, like another a couple thousand like tasers, and all this equipment you use in a prison camps, not for an education system. And those are also available online. Her news report on that, actually. So when the Chinese government is giving this rhetoric about how they are re-educating these Uyghur people, why doctors, PhDs who graduated from Japan or graduated from other universities, and university professors and university presidents, actually, successful business owners who has employed for like a few hundred people in the in the shops or factories. What kind of re-education or what kind of vocational training they need to get what kind of jobs,
Yeah. Or sorry, go on.
Basically, yeah.
No, I mean, like, that makes a lot of sense. Essentially what it's sounding like, again, like, I'm just trying to do my best to understand the situation. Essentially, it sounds like, when they say re-education, very heavy quotations around that. Essentially, it is an attempt to try and take people who, and it seems like it is like centralized around like the Muslim religion and the Muslim faith, right? And seeing that as like a threat to assimilating into Chinese culture, or like Chinese, like adherence to Chinese authority, adherence to like Chinese adherence to the authority structure in the Chinese government. And so it's basically comply to our beliefs and subscribe to our, means of governance, or suffer the consequences.
Yes, absolutely.
And that is, I don't have words. I am utterly speechless. I'm trying to think.
What hurts, what upsets me the most is our complicity, the complicity of the Western democratic countries. Basically, there is this Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act right now, trying to address the U.S. complicity, which we have in every right to do, because China is running a slavery in those concentration camps, making Uyghur people work as slaves on the forced labor.
Okay.
But then there are like big corporations like Apple, Nike, and some other large corporations. They are actively lobbying at the Hill against this, just in the
Wait, against
in the name of,
interference into the genocide, or against like
against the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, which is a bill to stop the Uyghur forced labor, Uyghur slavery. So the Uyghurs are being used as slaves in the supply chain of those companies, large companies.
Sure,
They are
they're being
making a
used
lot
as
of
cheap
money
labor.
from.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. The cheap labor now coming from sweat and the tears of those Uyghur professors, Uyghur doctors, Uyghur singers. They're holding them in those camps, and they sent them to forced labor facilities. Even during the pandemic, when China closed most of the factories in Wuhan and the other China proper, they brought Uyghur youth to work on the producing masks, and the working and reopening those factories got shut down. So the Uyghurs has no kind of right to refuse to go. They are taken basically from their homes, from their lives, sent to wherever the Chinese government or the Chinese military sent them to. If they say no, then they will go to the prison. So to address such a complicity of the American companies, the US lawmakers introduced the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act to address the complicity of those factories using Uyghurs on their supply chains as cheap labor.
Right.
But we have actually large companies like Apple, Coca-Cola, Nike, and the others. They are a lot of money lobbying against this bill. Stop, this bill becoming a law. So that really breaks my heart to see that the Uyghur people are becoming collateral damage, economic benefits for the large corporations.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
it's not
how people are supposed to act, because what's happening to Uyghur people today, everything you heard is like a drop of the iceberg. These are a test for the conscience of the world. This is 21st century. This is 2020, and all these are happening on our watch. And yet, so many people are quiet. Mainstream media is quiet. Some politicians are not supporting this bill to prevent such a atrocity because of China's blood money.
That makes sense, unfortunately. I mean, like when we're talking about corporations, the way that I mean, like a theory that I've heard a lot of people describe to me in the way that they see China is essentially like state-run capitalism, as in like it's like it functions in the way that a corporation does, right? It focuses on maximizing profit at the expense of people within the country, and so it makes sense to me if you view it through that lens. That you can see a very similar, you can see them getting along with other corporations where there is a very similar profit motive, right? There isn't a there isn't a
Yes.
motive for like the value of life. There isn't a motive for, liberal values of, freedom and equal treatment of people and, value of, variety of expression and religion and all of that. Like there's a primary motive on profit and maximizing profit, and if people die in the meanwhile or if human rights are violated, then screw all that, which is awful. But it unfortunately makes sense in the way that you've described it.
Yes, when you look at, the United States and the other democratic societies' ability for the self-criticism is what leads to the societal improvements. But where are the voices from the rich and the famous who have always been so vocal on every social injustice? If these people take China's blood money over money over for what they have been defending, while only seeing the short-term economic benefits coming from this totalitarian evident evil, this totalitarian communist regime, then what will be the future of the free world? That worries me, because I left my homeland. I came to this great country for that freedom. Will we have the democracy and the freedom which we are, taking for granted today in this country if China China continue to actually doing what they are doing? Basically, I can bluntly say it from our previous living experiences under this Chinese communist regime. There will be no freedom, no democracy, nothing, because China is trying to set the next world order by what they are doing to Uyghur people today. Just to look at the Uyghur people, my people today, what I have described earlier. Look at Tibetans, look at the Southern Mongolians, look at the Hong Kongers today and what they are facing now, and imagine the life and the world that you are leaving behind your children. I actually, let me just say something very quick here. I recently read a tweet from someone in New York, an American person, and I felt heart-wrenching emotion over the state of democracy and freedom in the world, that the principles of, which I came here to this country to pursue. He said in his tweet, he said, what will future generations think of us if we knew of the evil of Chinese regime and did nothing? That's where we came to now. And the future of the free world that we know of is basically depending on us to defend, if it's not too late already, because China is spreading its, communist ideologies and the totalitarian system around the world. And this threatens all of us, actually. This threatens everybody who values freedom. And it challenges everything we have worked so hard in the past 100 years in this country, because Chinese communist regime is waging a war on the democracy and the freedom, waging a war on a human dignity, waging a war on accountability, waging a war on America, basically. On October 16th, on the 2020, if you search on YouTube, Dr. Li Yi, Liyi, a Chinese sociologist who received his PhD in sociology from University of Illinois.
Okay.
In his speech, he delivered in the Shenzhen Wen Dialogue Forum in Shenzhen on October 16, 2020. This is what he said, quote unquote, "We are driving America to its death." He continues by bragging about the coronavirus, which 1.8 million lives today in the world and killed almost 350,000 people in the US, the COVID-19. He says COVID-19 is beneficial for China and North Korea. You can search on YouTube. It's still there.
How is that? I'm interested in that. I had not heard that argument.
This is what he said. This is his quote. He said, "We are driving America to its death."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just
And
hadn't
he
heard the
continues,
argument
he
that
says,
the coronavirus would
COVID-19
been
is
beneficial to
beneficial
China.
for China and North Korea. That's what he said.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah, that's just
yeah.
interesting to me. Like, why do you know why that is? Like how is it beneficial to North Korea and China? Or is that
Because
just, or are
he
you just like
claims
citing
that
what he said?
no, he talks about how it killed so many Americans, but for North Korea and China, it brightened their future. It was beneficial for them because it put them on the upper hand. Talks in Chinese, but there's English subtitle. You can
Okay, then
read
in that
it.
case, then we don't have to get that too bogged down into that. I'll direct people in my chat who are interested in that argument to go and watch that. Who's that speech from again?
Yeah. Dr. Li Yi, Liyi, and his speech on the Shenzhen Wen dialect form. I can read that.
Okay.
I
Then
can put that on the chat.
Yeah. If people want to leave that there, just because, like, again, like, I'm not trying to push back. I'm just trying to clarify so I can make sure that I can understand. And that's all.
Fine.
So I'll leave people in my chat to go and find that information. Because we're coming up on the hour, so actually this could probably be a good time to start wrapping up. If there is anything, because you were kind of talking about the nature of like the future of the United States, and the future of the world and the future of China, especially reconciling with having to deal with this crisis. What would you advocate for? Because there's a lot of people who are watching me and who are going to watch me in the future who are kind of like the average person, right? People who don't necessarily have a lot of political power, but who are active all the same in our country and across the world. What advice would you give to them in being able to help the plight of the Uyghur people?
Just to talk about it, educate your friends, educate yourself by reading, and then raising awareness, because China is the Chinese regime is very actively spreading disinformation and false narratives about what's happening. So get your information from credible sources, and is just act with your dignity of just as a human beings. Anybody who respects the human dignity and the rights of the people should be speaking out and act, because what's happening next is all up to us. What's happening to Uyghur people today, and defending the Uyghur people's rights and give them the respect they deserve, is actually a test for the conscience of the world. To me, there is a vow never again for similar atrocities in the history after the Holocaust, but that never again is happening all over again in our front of our face today. If the people living in the free country like United States don't take action and do something to stop this, the other countries who are being manipulated and influenced by China are not able to do anything. So basically what we are going to see is what the Uyghur people are living today will be the future of the world. I cannot emphasize this enough. I feel like broken records when I talk about this, because that is the goal of the Chinese government. They are not just going to stop with what they are doing to Uyghurs and Tibetans, because they look at this century as a century for the China's ultra nationalism and racism to taking over the world. And they already started that with Belt and Road Initiative and everything they are doing today. So be a responsible citizen, and try to help Uyghurs and help the future of the world
Yeah.
and stand up against this evident evil. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk about this. And I welcome people joining us tomorrow for the press conference at 12:30. We will be posting on our social media about the how to log on the information. My niece will be speaking. She's not an activist. She's just a daughter who's trying to save her mother, who's a retired medical doctor who has been in the China's dark dungeon since September 2018.
That's going to be wonderful. And where can people, so that's going to be on social media. Can you let people in the chat know where they can find that if they want to tune in and to hear that?
Yes, once I finish this session, I am going to post on our website, campaignforuighurs.org, and also on our Facebook and our Twitter. We'll have the information so people can log on from that.
All right, wonderful. Then I will direct my chat. It's been the link to your website has been posted several times throughout the conversation, so I trust that people have access to it at this point. I really appreciate you coming on your words, because I think that I obviously agree, and I think that they ring true. I think that it's very easy for people. This is just like a little bit of like I don't know. There's a lot of discussion online about basically this idea of like complicity in the face of atrocities happening elsewhere in the world, right? Some people ascribe this idea to like a theory of like the banality of evil, right? Essentially, people usually don't care so much about what happens to other people as long as it doesn't affect themselves, which is not a good thing, right? It's not good to not care about the plights of other people. Sometimes it can be hard to be able to do anything as an individual person because, I mean, like, you know, it's hard for one person to change the world. But I do think that it's important to recognize that, especially in the digital age, as we're able to, you know, do events like what we are doing right now and be able to collaborate with each other, at a minimal, people are able to spread awareness. And at a larger level, you know, I think that there is a lot of room for people to be able to engage in the kind of change like what you've described. And I certainly hope that I can be a part of it. And I just want to, I just want to be here to be able to help and mobilize my community in whatever way is most helpful to your cause.
Yeah, thank you so much. You know, as an American, I very much admire seeing, voices raised protesting injustice. So I only hope that more freedom-loving people will use their voices to cry out for us, for Uyghur people, because the world is not listening. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Well, hey, then I'm going to leave the call. Thank you so much for coming on, and have a... Actually, I don't know if it's night where you're at. What time is it where you're calling in from?
It's I am in Washington, D.C., so it's 6:36 p.m.
Oh, okay. Yeah, same time zone. All right. Well, hey, have a wonderful rest of your evening then. Thank you so much for talking.
And happy holidays and a happy new year. Thank you.
Thank you. You as well. Bye.
Bye.
That was a good discussion, chat. 1 second. I'm going to try and get my regular camera working. So this, I'm glad I was able to get this on the fly. Are you sure you want to remove webcam? Yes. And then... boom. What's up? Yeah, it seems like my camera's been overheating a lot lately, so I don't know. I'm going to need to do some research on how to be able to resolve that. Fortunately, webcams do not overheat, so it's good to be able to have that on backup. It's weird that it didn't fit like the full size of the screen, so I'm sorry it won't be as high quality, but I think that the conversation more than made up for the quality of that. Also, hey, Lynn, how's it going? Best informational interview for the stream so far. Thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah, it was definitely, I actually I'm not sure if I was informed beforehand that we were getting the executive director, like head of the organization, founder of the organization. Like, that was a really big deal for this stream. And also, I mean, like, sure, like the exposure, may be good. I don't know how normally, I mean, I guess that, you know, is the same kind of thing that Dylan Burns plays at What's up, Dylan? If you're in chat, you got another player in international affairs now, or whatever. But I mean, I think that it's really, I think it says a lot about this community. I think it says a lot that we have a reputation that would be conducive for other people with, I mean, like that's someone from, you know, the head of a very, you know, politically active and influential organization, right? Who took time out of her schedule to sit down with us and have a chat to try and inform all of you. I think that reflects very well on, you know, on the reputation. I mean, like, obviously, you know, my name is attached to it, right? But the reputation is ultimately of your community, right? Like when most people think of streamers, a lot of them tend to think in terms of their reputations as, well, what type of community do they cultivate? And I think that you are all a very, I don't know, like I was watching the chat throughout most of the conversation. I wasn't able to respond to it. RJ, if you're planning on making this new segment, I can probably fix the camera size. Yes! Thank you, Akam. You are amazing. I love my editor. But yeah, so I'm very proud of you all for handling that very tactfully. I was paying attention, you showed empathy, and yeah, like it was a very heavy subject. Like I'm not going to say that it wasn't. It is heavy, and it's very important for us to be able to deal with that. But it's good for us to be able to learn because, I mean, like for as politically active as we are, I am going to fully admit I didn't know anything about this until tonight, right? Or I knew like the most basic information about it possible. And hopefully you all have been able to learn to the same extent that I have as well, right? And for, you know, and there's probably a million things happening in the world which are very similar, that there are atrocities happening and things to be done, and we just don't know about them yet. I hope that as I'm able to grow, that we can make a part of this experience of growing together, learning about these things and how to be able to resolve them. I like that, especially as I get ready to pursue my own political career. Something that a lot of politicians don't do, and I'm learning this as I'm getting to know more politicians now, is that basically once you start your political career, your ability to learn basically stops, you know, because now you're busy. All right, so all the time you're either fundraising or you're advocating for the things that got you elected in the first place, right? There's very little there's very little ability for you to be able to grow as an individual. And so I hope that either, you know, I could be able to grow, or people who are watching me can be able to grow and be able to take on political offices and hopefully take some of the things that we learn into what you do. Or even if you don't run for office, just in any kind of political advocacy, right? What was the Michael Brooks quote? Be ruthless, be ruthless with systems, but be kind with people. Remember that, right? Like, be ruthless with systems, be very critical. But we are doing this so that we can be kind with people. And honestly, I think that's a good transition, because the next thing that I'm going to talk about, it's not going to be a segment, but I'm going to give you all an update on 2021, because this is the end of 2020, baby. At least as far as this channel is concerned. I'm not planning on streaming for New Year's. I'm going to be spending it with person who so the first you will hear from me is probably after the new year. Wait, hey chat, your representative decided to vote on this issue, vote against it. It'd be cool if you wrote that and pressed them on why. Yes, remember that. By the way, quick reminder, if you have a representative, especially a congressional representative, and like that you are their constituent, it is literally their job to respond to you, especially if you're able to organize enough of you to like send like group messages or emails or whatever. It is a big part of their job to respond to those concerns, right? Without getting into, like, again, it sucks because I can't talk about this. I am going to be working for a congressperson in the upcoming spring. And one of the jobs that I am going to be one of the main jobs that I'm going to be having is responding to these letters and researching for these letters, right? So that is literally one of the primary things that that Congress people staff their people to do is to be able to respond to constituents, right? And to be able to make sure that they keep their constituents happy. So if you are not happy with your representative, you better then press the fuck out of them and let them know. Okay? Look into how they vote. Ask them why they voted the way they did, if it's not the way that you wanted to, and hold them accountable. All right? That's how you affect political change at a small level. All right? Riley moving up in the world. Hey, we'll see what happens. But yeah, so anyway, that's the advice. Like, that is literally something that any of you can do. All right? If you're in the US. If you're not in the US, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. But if you're in the US, any of you can do this. All right? Like, I'm not kidding you. It is accessible at any degree of, like, you could be in high school, you can be in college, you can be full-time, you can come from any educational background. You can do that. All right? That is a political tool available to you. All right? Do that. Get together with people who are also have the same representatives or senators or whoever, and do that shit. Okay? Okay. But anyway, so going into 2021, basically the plan is going to be less. So I need to give credit where credit is due. Occam has been in my chat. Occam has been my recent editor. Can I get some RGR hypes in chat if you have appreciated the editing of some of the recent videos that have gone up on my channel? And yeah, so Occam, yeah, for real. Also, it's weird. There are like, for some people in the Discord, there are literally like Occam specific emotes because I don't know, you can blame the server. But yeah, so obviously we have like, that is something symptomatic. Yeah, there they go. That is something symptomatic of the fact that like we have been able to grow a lot and we have a lot available to us as a community. Okay. That's something that I didn't expect at the beginning of the year. Mind you, I didn't really know what to expect when I got started with this. I'm just kind of going with it, right? But what is very apparent to me at this point is that we're starting to grow into being able to do different types of content. And I think that's really exciting. So essentially, I'm going to publish probably a written statement, similar to like the statements that I put out, like the research docs that I put out summarizing my exact 2021 strategic plan. And that'll go out by the end of the year. It might even go up tonight after stream. I just have to put in the work on it. I've been going over it with my friends, and we've been basically figuring out exactly how I want to most effectively organize everything, because we have a really strong community here, right? We have people who will help me do research. We have people who will help me write. We have people who will help me in other ways. Like we have people who will help me with editing and putting out videos, or even people who have specific academic backgrounds, like in history and philosophy and like mathematics or science or chemistry. Like there's so much that we have access to here. And the thing that I think that we can really do, and I genuinely believe this, and we're going to take an ambitious run at this, I think that we can make some of the highest quality content on BreadTube or political YouTube in general, whatever you want to call it, right? I genuinely think that we can do that. Right now, we do some of the highest quality React Andrea content, which is good and fine, and I really like it. I just honestly believe that we have the capacity to do a lot better, which means that we're not going to stop streaming, but effectively, like, here is the abridged version of what I'm envisioning. I'll probably stream more, and I'll probably do a lot more research streams where you, the audience, can watch videos with me and be able to respond to them with me, and we'll do research together. And effectively, we will do the thing where I compile a document, but instead of a research one-page document, which, as I talked about earlier, can be helpful for having something as a quick reference, but which does not necessarily help you so much convince people as just win debates if all you want to do is dunking, right? My concern isn't just dunking on people. I want to do more long-form engagement. And so what I want to write with my chat are documents, specifically on Medium, to be published, which will double both as research documents so that you can have access to all of the publications and all the research that we find, and also scripts for video essays. And I want to make them the best video essays on the platform. I know how they're made. I basically, like, at this point, I basically know how most people do it. And I think that we have some of the best team. I think we have a kick-ass team of people here. And I really want to take a good shot at it. And I just want to see what's possible. Right now, there's a lot of potential in this community. And I'm very excited to push that to see how far it goes, you know? So to that extent, when you see my strategic plan published, again, either tonight or tomorrow, there may be some vague allusion to like, oh, I have a goal of trying to reach like generally in this kind of margin of subscribers, but that's not so much what I'm geared towards. I think that I have enough of a base and enough of a community here where growth will happen, you know, to some degree. And we have a strong community as it is, one of the strongest on the left. Like, again, if you look at like all the discords, like I'm in basically all of the political discords. The only ones bigger than us, I can name them right now, are Hassan, Destiny, Vosh, Jade Court. I don't even know what Jade really does. Papa Gut, if you consider Papa Gut on the left, and Xander Hall. And that's it. We're up there, fam. Like, we are there. So we don't have to rush. We can put, you know, I would rather us take time and make sure that we are make sure that we're able to put out the best content that we can. Because I think that's going to be admirable. It'll also be nice for me next year because that way we don't have to rush into things. I can double check and make sure all of my arguments are exactly as I want them to be. Also, I teased out earlier that I'm going to be getting bottom surgery at the beginning of the summer, which means that I will not be able to do constant React Andrea content. But it does not mean I won't be able to engage in preparing for scripted video essay content. And oh my God, what did you just post? So yeah, I've thought a lot about this. I feel very confident. I think that also we have everything organized very well. And most importantly, I think that the community is in a very healthy spot. You are all, I can say with almost absolute certainty, wonderful people. If you are part of my community and you actively participate, I can say with almost a certain degree of confidence that you are a pretty genuinely good person. Because that's what I see from my community every day. And I love being able to interact with you. Which is where I'll give the obligatory plug. If you want to join that community I just shouted out the whole bunch, then join. That's what this is. This is that community right here. Look, it's here. Amazing. Join at discord.gg/RGR. I'm sorry. I'm new, but I feel included. Yeah, listen, new, old, it's fine. I mean, you know, it's more about just like being a good person, right? Say it again. Be ruthless with systems. Be kind with people. I think that's going to be something that we take into 2021. Will that mean that I stop dunking on people as hard as I do? No, we'll still drop some nuclear H-bombs on people. But I am going to be taking a much harder look critically at making sure that we are able to accomplish the goals that I set out or meet the criteria that I set out at the beginning when I was doing my tier list, namely being as likable as possible, as credible as possible, and as entertaining as possible. All right. So with that being said, I think I've, I'll hold on. Actually, no, let me double check. I haven't even checked how much we've had watching this whole time. So how are we doing? All right, we got 148 on YouTube. That's all right. Twitch, we got 56. Twitter, we got not as many. And then, all right. So yeah, I think that we're going to leave it there. Thank you again. It's been a wonderful year, and I'll see y'all. Actually, hold on. Let me find like, I know what I want to send you out to. I have my favorite.
All right, folks. Thanks for.
God damn it! Get out of here. I have my favorite song recently, and yeah, I'm gonna send you out to it. And with that, I'll see y'all in the new year. Have a happy new year, and I'll see y'all in 2020 or 2021.
繰り返し夢